Buffs, incoming Helldivers, and some unexpected changes. It's kind of early here on the East Coast, but I've been sifting over this dictionary of changes, and at least on paper, the game looks like it's going to play quite a bit differently. Welcome back to the channel. I am LtBuzzLitebeer, and there are bazillions of changes we need to discuss. More durable damage, the Eruptor, even the SEAF Launcher. You know, I'm excited to break it all down for you right now. Thanks so much for your awesome and continued support. In case you haven't done so already, please take just a moment to hit subscribe. It's free, it's a great way to support the channel, and the YouTube algo loves it. And while you're here, make sure to ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. And right now, it's time to drop into all the latest from Helldivers. First is a double whammy because we get to check in on the major order and we get to see those brand new FTL supply lines hard at work. First off, the Save the Kids major order on Vernon Wells has a bit over 2 days to go, and the planet is sitting at about 37% liberated. Now, I had some fun with the community's artwork for this campaign in yesterday's video, but based on the number of divers all hitting Vernon Wells, it looks like the kids are the priority target. Also, check out those supply lines. We can finally see how to jump from planet to planet, and better late than never, and this valuable intel is great to see on the actual galactic map versus using something like the outside Helldivers companion app. Today's personal or daily order is to get 100 kills with the flamethrower, and once you couple this weapon with some of the new changes to elite spawns, you might be able to knock out those 100 kills even faster, and more on this in just a moment. Anyways, you know the drill. Get those 100 kills and net yourself 15 medals, which you'll be able to use a little bit later today when the Viper Commandos War Bond drops. So again, FYI, in case you were about to ask, Viper Commandos is not yet live. That's later today, and time permitting, I plan on posting a review of that, like I said, a little later this afternoon. Now, as far as the ship goes, not much has changed here except at the ship management terminal, where we now have a new fourth tab entitled Vehicle Customization. Now, from the Viper Commandos trailer, we knew that we were getting those newly introduced skins for the Shuttle, Hellpod, and Mechs, and this looks like it was installed into the game early in preparation for today. Now on to the main event, the mega-sized, biggest ever Helldivers patch, aka 1.000.400 is now live, and for me on PC, it was only about 1.1 gigs to download. And to be honest, what's shocking are all the things we weren't expecting because they are everywhere in here. Kicking off this massive list of changes are the Sentries, which honestly I really wasn't expecting, but now we've seen a bunch of buffs across the board, starting off with the lesser used Rocket Sentry, and just listen to this basic overhaul. Decreased spread, so it has tighter spread. It prioritizes larger targets. It picked up 25 meters for target distance. They've decreased the rockets per salvo from 2 down to 1 to get better ammo economy. Listen to this one. Increased explosion radius from 1 meter up to 4 meters. They've decreased the explosion armor pen because now explosions can no longer damage heavily armored enemies. The projectile still has enough AP to damage heavily armored targets, and it picked up projectile damage from 200 up to 300. I mean, I almost never used this Sentry prior to today, and I still need to test it out, but that is a complete reworking of the Rocket Sentry. While we're here, the Machine Gun Sentry has 60 seconds. That's a full minute that has been lopped off of its cooldown timer. And, you know, this one has always been a lesser, poorer version of the Gatling Sentry, at least for me. And also, here's another massive change for all the Sentries. They've now have a durability increase from 0% up to 80%. Wow, that means that they can now withstand a bit more than a small puff of wind before being destroyed. Again, this is a huge change to Sentries. The HMG emplacement now has 100% faster rotation speed. I mean, that's brilliant because that was always excruciating trying to do a full 180 against hard charging targets. The anti-personnel minefield is now even stronger, picking up 100 more explosive damage, and the incendiary mines also saw a buff from 150 up to 210 damage. Again, I love to see buffs. How effective this is all going to be in the game, I still need to test it out, but this could open up a lot more potential selections in terms of sentries and emplacements. How about orbitals, you say? Well, they too saw some changes with the orbital Gatling receiving a 25% increase in its fire rate, a doubling of rounds per salvo. Wow, this thing already sounds impressive. Increased armor pen, so it can now damage heavy armored targets, and also a further 10-second cooldown reduction. Also, the orbital precision strike gets the same 10-second reduction from its cooldown, and the call-in time has been cut in half. And finally, the orbital airstrike received a further 20-second reduction from its cooldown timer. Now, I know a lot of you divers are fond of your Eagle airstrikes, and there are two of these that actually receive some love. First up are the 110mm rocket pods. They got better targeting, and they doubled their armor penetration against heavies. However, projectile damage has been cut almost in half, so technically that's a nerf, and they also decreased explosion armor pen. Again, that's another nerf. But the notes here say that these were based off the rockets now receiving improved targeting. Also, the Eagle strafing run has picked up another use before needing to rearm. That's up from 3 to 4, and increased armor pen, so it can now also damage heavies. Weapon and mech strats are next up, and the lesser used grenade launcher picked up 50 damage from 350 up to 400, so it should be a bit more effective at doing more than just destroying fabricators and bug holes. The MG206 heavy machine gun. Man, I used to love this thing when it first launched. Anyways, more damage per bullet from 100 to 150. Okay. It picked up 10% more damage versus durable body parts. Again, another win. It lost even more fire rate. Oof, not on the slowest mode, but for the mid and highest modes, it lost 150 RPM. However, it also lost 1.5 seconds on the reload time, so now it takes slightly less than an eternity to reload this thing, and they've increased the stagger strength on the weapon. Again, no description or stats here for that one, but overall, a lot of buffs for the heavy machine gun, except for that fire rate nerf. The standard MG43 machine gun also lost 0.5 seconds on its reload time, and they've increased the amount of mags you can carry from 3 up to 4. Sticking with that theme of the MG43 machine gun and adding on the Sentry version, the Gatling Sentry, and both exosuits, so listen up you mech pilots, here it is. They've increased the projectile damage from 80 to 90 on all of those, so that's a slight increase, and they've increased projectile damage versus durable body parts from 7.5% up to 25%. Wow, so it has effectively been tripled overnight. Again, I haven't tested this out, but Mechs might have just made a bit of a return with that damage buff. Now on to the weapons, and I know a lot of you have been holding your breath on this one, me included, and there's also a lot to talk about here as well. Starting off with the standard Liberator, the Stalwart, and the regular Guard Dog, so not the Rover. All of these picked up durable damage from 10% up to 23%. And overall, this seems to be Arrowhead's theme for this patch, right? More durable damage, so we don't have to be so damn deadly accurate with every shot we fire. Moving on. The Liberator Concussive also picked up 12% more durable damage. The Adjudicator is getting 5 more rounds per mag and 10% more durable damage. The Tenderizer, which I hear is now an absolute shredder after these changes. Listen to this. It increased projectile damage from 60 up to 95. Wow. It also got a 7% increase in damage to durable body parts. It lost 5 ammo per mag, and it lost 2 total mags from 10 down to 8. And it picked up increased stagger strength. I mean, okay, I can deal with the ammo differences and just show some trigger discipline as long as it shreds chaff without burning through my ammo. The Purifier received more armor pen to match the explosion damage and less explosive damage fall off, so 2 buffs there. The Crossbow also received a buff with explosive armor pen not matching the projectile, so it got a buff there. And they've increased the demo strength, and they've added the medium armor pen tag. So it sounds like the Crossbow got a little bit of love there. The vaunted Eruptor is next, and it again picked up a massive total damage spike from 420 up to 570. However, shrapnel has not returned. And I will say this, that according to reports I received this morning, it's still not back to the OG Eruptor we had at launch. It's better, but it's not back up to that pre-nerf level. And finally, the regular Diligence received increased damage versus durable body parts from 10 up to 25%. Keep holding in there, divers. I know this is a bit of a long video, but there's just so much here to cover, and there's a lot more we need to get through. And you're going to want to hear all of these next ones because they're all positive gameplay changes, starting off with the removal of that damn AA defense modifier. And FYI, that's the one that would remove one of your stratagem choices, taking you from 4 and locking you into 3. And that's a big W right there. They've also disabled the Retrieve Essential Personnel mission. Apparently that one just needs a little bit more time in the oven. Super samples are now found on level 6 and up. I mean, we already knew that one was coming. Listen to this next one. The SEAF artillery stratagem is no longer blocked by stratagem jammers or ion storms and is available after the mission timer ends and the destroyer leaves orbit. That is a brilliant change, and I didn't even think about that one being modified. That's going to come in super handy when the LZ is just overrun and you need to drop around in right on top of it. But, you know, overall it makes sense because this is not a strat that we call in from the Super Destroyer. It's something we enable planet side if we can find it. Moving on, enemies on the tower defense missions will now attack the gates with a bit more consistency. I guess that's a win. We can also now chat from in-game menus and the mission loading screen. Another huge W, so we can actually type into chat and coordinate our loadouts. Thank you, Arrowhead. And then they also mentioned some first-person crosshairs have been updated to improve sight and readability. Overall, that was a beefy set of changes that could really affect gameplay. Invite-only lobbies are now up and running. The new armor passive, Peak Physique, in case you wanted to know what the percentages are and what it does, well, it increases our melee damage by 50%, and we also get 30% weapon ergonomics. And then there's a whole shopping list of changes to planets and hazards, of which, you know, I'm just not going to read this through verbatim, but in general, spike plants now pop, sending spikes out that can damage us. Fire NATOs are now more random and won't chase us Helldivers. Yes, that was a thing. Tremors are also more random. Visibility, especially fog planets, have been tweaked to be a bit easier on the eyes. Hallelujah. Hell bombs can be insta-sploded by hitting them with heavier weapons. And then here's a real sleeper change. Listen to this one. We can now use heavier vegetation for stealth. When we are inside these areas of vegetation, we're going to be harder to detect, and this is going to stack with things like whether it's nighttime, whether we're crouched or prone, or are we wearing things like the scout armor. And this is another massive gameplay change because stealth has always been there and available, but mostly through lurking. Now we can actually use cover to hide from our enemies. I like it. Enemies also saw a ton of changes, and again on paper, these look significant. Starting off with acid effects, like from those hunters. Well, they've been nerfed, dropping the slow effect from 50% down to 30%. That's big. But the effect duration did pick up 1 second, which, you know, overall, I can live with that. Heavy elite spawns on higher difficulties has also been tuned down. I don't know how I feel about that, resulting in bug breaches, seeing 30% less heavies popping up out of the ground. This change also includes hulks. They say this is to open up other stratagem options instead of forcing everyone to run with anti-tank. The spawn patrols have now been reverted. Yes, that's another huge W, although they say with some slight tweaks. I guess they're trying to make the open world a little less barren for solo players. Stunning medium and large enemies has been reduced a little bit. They say this doesn't affect stratagems, but it's mainly aimed at the pummeler SMG. Damn, that's too bad. I actually used this for this very reason. Those damn Bile and Nursing Spewers can now have their legs shot off. Spewer Puke has now been changed over to the Acid effect, and it can now only damage us Helldivers 4 times per second, which should reduce those insta-kills. Again, fingers crossed on this one. Hopefully they got it right. Bile Titans are now slightly less durable against anti-tank weapons, but this is largely aimed at the railgun and how effective it is versus the Titans. Also, Bile Titan Puke can now only damage us, again, 4 times per second. Although it does have a bigger spread, and it's still not recommended to run through their streams, but we should be able to survive them with a bit more consistency. Also, Charger Behemoths will now be seen on higher difficulties, and regular Chargers will now only show their bleed out effect from the body if the bleed out state has started. Hulk Scorcher Flamethrowers, wow, are much like the Bile changes. Their fire can now only damage us 4 times per second again, so we're going to see hopefully less insta-kills there. Automaton Tank Frontal Armor has been reduced, and those damn jumping Automaton Jump Packs explosion damage has been reduced by a whopping 50%, although they can still catch you on fire once exploded. And here come the fixes, and there's just too many to run through line by line, but it is a metric crap ton of items that have been altered. But overall, here's some of the highlights. The spear targeting has been fixed, but in the process of fixing it, the spear will no longer target, as they say, automaton spawners. I think they mean fabricators, but it does say that this will be fixed in the future. The poor spear. It's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back for this poor thing. The Quasar will now reload faster or slower depending on the planetary conditions, with the times varying by 2.5 seconds. That's an interesting change there. So if it's cold, it reloads faster. If it's hot, it reloads slower. Here's a massive one I need to test out. Automaton weapons now have tighter spread while firing shots, which should mean no more sideways firing Devastators, hopefully. Exosuit weapons aiming and angles of firing has also been altered, which they say should make them more accurate. Again, testing needed here, but if true, that's a good step forward. The unlimited grenade spam glitch has been fixed. The extraction shuttle can no longer take damage, preventing extraction. I mean, those were crazy instances, right? A Bile Titan wanders underneath your shuttle, and it would just slowly disappear into the ground, which was heartbreaking to watch. Blue Strats bouncing next to detection towers has been reduced, although it doesn't say completely fixed, FYI. It just says reduced. Getting launched into the air if a diver was near a Bile Titan or Factory Strider corpse has been fixed. Boo, I like that one. Here's a big one. They fixed Pelican 1, sometimes leaving immediately after any player gets on board. Thank you, Arrowhead. Superior packing methodology receives some love, and then there's various other UI fixes and rare bug occurrences also listed out here. And finally, I promise we're almost to the end here, divers. We've got various crash fixes that were included in this patch, although no word on that Unity Day or review cape, which I was kind of expecting after that dev tease several weeks ago. And sadly, we also need to cover the not so good to the downright dreadful technical issues. First off, the known issues board, by the way, has now increased despite having all this time to get out the patch. We've already discussed the new spear lock-on issues. Arc weapons misfiring is still here. Weapons shooting below the crosshairs is still here. The Plasma Punisher shield combo issue that was there months ago and then fixed, well, it's back again. Here's a couple of new additions. Just listen to these. Bile Titans will sometimes not take damage to their heads, and the Charger's butt does not take damage from explosions. That's double damn for both of those. And the BF-14 Adjudicator has incorrect recoil values, although that sounds only like a change in the weapon's text is needed to correct that one. Also, and this is a bit of a breaking news issue here, coming from various testers and trusted sources from within my own Helldivers Discord community, the technical state of today's mega patch was not good. Most rated the changes at a solid 7 to 8 out of 10, so they liked what Arrowhead had done, but the implementation was just downright awful. Anytime you touched a social menu, a menu in general, hell, even if you touched the escape key on PC, just resulted in an immediate crash. Now, this has prompted a response from Twinbeard over in the official Discord, stating that they know of the technical issues and are working on them. So again, overall, I'm hearing positive things about today's patch, but groans as to how it was launched. Well, that's it for this video because the War Bond has just now launched and I need to pivot over to that one. Also, I can't wait to test out all of these changes and hopefully this brings a huge helping of fun factor back to the Helldiver core gameplay loop. If you've already dove into patch 400, let me know what you think overall by dropping me a comment. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Check in the video description below for links to all my socials, including my Helldiver Discord community. A massive thanks goes out to you legends from around the globe that have taken the plunge, hit subscribe, and continue to support me and my content. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.